Hello and welcome to another episode of the Molten Truth. I am your host, Zoey Michaels, writer of the book Breaking Free, How Scammers Manipulate and How to Break Free, or How to Fight Back. Sometimes I forget my own title. And we are here today with Anne Peshke. She is an author of the book Trauma Recycled, and she's a speaker. And although she's not taking on any clients, she is a coach, and she's got some really great stuff. Even on her Facebook page, there's a 30-day challenge that it's worth taking a look at. So without any further introduction from me, I'm going to let Anne speak about just her life and her journey, and also her book.
Oh, thank you, Zoe. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me today. I really, I appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience. And I do respond to Anna too, so that's okay. But anyways, I wrote my book and I just recently published it in February. I wrote it for the purposes of inclusion and connection and allowing others to get, a really deep dive into some traumatic stuff on my life and my end. And by sharing that, it just really opens up the doors for other people to go, hey, you know what? I'm not alone. Wow, you know what? So this is something that actually can change. Wow. So this is something maybe I can do something about. So it just prompts questions for other folks. And I'm really passionate about this part of my life and my journey. It really is very thought-provoking as well. So how do you go from, I have so many people ask me, how do you go from so down deep where you were in your life to who you are today? And the answer is it's the work. It's definitely quotation marks, the work. And it is a lot of work. But the journey through the work is the beauty. That's the magic. And so learning how to, at a young age, kind of adapt to the situation I was in, I learned to be very quiet. I learned to stifle who I was. I learned to just be what I thought everybody thought I should be. So I attached labels to myself. And labels were some of the words that people used towards me. And they were very sad. They were very, not very kind to a child. You're a loser, you're this, you're that. So all of those things that you ingrain in yourself, or the ways that you're treated, you begin to learn patterns that later on in life as an adult, you're still operating with those patterns. So teaching people how to treat us is exactly what we do. So I began to notice this pattern, right? I was just in these really bad relationships, and I was feeling worse and worse and worse about myself. And whenever I was in a relationship, I found myself drinking a lot more. And I would get, I would break up, and then I would be on my own, and I would begin to kind of get better. And I didn't really realize what pattern was forming at that point. I didn't understand what self-love was. I thought that was like so conceited. There's just no way I'm going to ever do anything like that. I really didn't understand. I'm 60 years old, right? Next year. So back in my day, when I was in my 20s, and I was in my 30s, like there was no Google, there were no phones, there was no help. There was, especially for a single mom with 2 kids, like, how am I going to get myself out of this? And I just, one day realized, you know what, maybe I'm not a piece of shit. I've got these kids that think that I'm like magic, right? Your kids look at you like your dog does, like, oh my God, you can walk on water, mom. So I'm like, I think that maybe this is worth the fight. So I started to reach out, and, you can find those free therapists. And I found one, and she introduced me to a book called The Courage to Heal. I went to Barnes and Noble. It was like one of the most expensive purchases I ever made for me in my life. I almost remember the book was $25. Back then, that was huge money. I didn't have, right? And I started reading that book, and I was like, wow, you know what? I'm not alone. Incest is the thing that happens to a lot of people. Trauma happens to a lot of people. I didn't deserve that. I mean, it just blew my mind. And that's when I realized I could read books about this. I went to the library and couldn't believe how many books there were. And I just started. And I just started. It was a slow journey, right? I'm still trying to mother 2 children. I'm still really bad at it because my patterns that I had formed as a child, of course, they're going to come out as my patterns as a mother. Does not mean there was absolutely zero abuse, but I wasn't able to be really nurturing. I wasn't able to be fully present. I was terrified to be a mom. So that started my journey into recycling, although I didn't realize I was recycling my trauma. I just thought I was getting better. But then the shift started happening, and I began recognizing that my power was in seeing others, and my power was in caring for others, and my power was in really being able to sit and listen to others. And that's when I really was just like, wow, I got really, really good at everything I did that involved people. So I was customer service based my entire life. I was a limo driver for 30 years, and I, worked for a major airline customer service, and all of those things really began to help build up my confidence. It helped make, I was able to take care of myself and my kids. I had gone through so many stints of desperation and scarcity and homeless with a 3-year-old. I mean, it was just a real lot of difficult stuff that now I began to see, look what you can do and look how you can help. Just because you came from that horrifying place doesn't mean that defines who you are.
Right.
That emphasizes who you are. That brought the beauty out. And honest to God, I can say right now, I am so grateful for every experience I ever had as a child. And all the difficulties I have ever had in my life have brought me to a place of really great empathy, great understanding, great care, and a super passion to be able to help others shift and do, maybe not necessarily the tools that I've used are going to work for everybody, but to give hope by standing up and saying, hey, you know what? I came from shit. And this is amazing. This is such a great journey. It just helps. So I know that was a pretty long intro, but
That's okay. You set the stage. I mean, the thing about walking through fire, like it sounds like you did, is that, it kind of purifies us a little bit as far as really making us focus on what's important in life. And, there's something to be said for helping yourself first. Just like if a plane, has some kind of issue, they would say you put on the airbag first and then help someone. You have to take care of yourself first before you really can help someone else.
Right. So true. So true. Yeah. That's motherhood.
True. Very true. So now, how has your journey continued? Like, we're following, all this with discovering that you weren't alone, and there's a long way between that and then writing a book. I would imagine probably years passed in between all of that.
Yes, it was decades. And you kind of reach your peaks and valleys with certain therapists. Some are really good at a certain time because we change, right? We change, we could change weekly, we could change monthly, we could change daily. So all of that shifting, you kind of can outgrow a therapist. And I got really good. I am highly driven. So when I would go to a therapist and all they would do is listen to me talk about the blah, blah, blah business going on in the drama, that was not my therapist. If I walked away with homework, that was my therapist. I wanted to do the work. Once I discovered that there was work to be done, I wanted all of it. So I would go through all these different peaks and valleys with different therapists. I'd find a good one. I'd stick with them for a while. And I go, okay, you know what, little plateau here, and then find another one and have to replace them. So all of that process, I think really it's very important to convey that we are all so different, just like a fingerprint. So the therapist that works for me is not going to work for someone else. And that's okay, because we all have different ways of connecting, right? And connection was really important. I also learned to connect and not be so detached and isolated. I learned to trust myself. That was pivotal for me. I learned you cannot trust another person until you trust you. So I couldn't understand why I was like, oh yeah, I trust him. He's a great guy. He's going to be wonderful in my life. Hello. All the red flags were going off. All the alarm bells were going off. I mean, there was like a band marching in front of you saying, hell no, and you did it anyways. I didn't know how to trust me. I felt so desperate for love, affection, and for someone to think that I mattered that I would just run out. So that is probably one of the most amazing parts of this process, is that when you can get to a place of confidence in who you are, when who you are becomes non-negotiable, that's freaking amazing.
I
My
love that.
20-year-old self, I'm glad. It is really so much power in that. When I was
Yes.
young, if somebody said that to me, I would have been like, you are so stuck up. Oh my God, look at you. Who do you think you are? Until I really realized there's such a fine line between confidence and conceit. And that is what we should be in ourselves. We
Confident.
should be very confident. So this path has brought me to a place where I really learned I am really, really good at whatever I decide to be good at. So if I am super intentional, I'm going to own it. And I just know that. So every business I've ever started, every job I've ever had, although I made my own hours, right? So limo driver was amazing. I made my own hours. I worked when I wanted. I didn't when I didn't. So it was fantastic. It was like my own business, but somebody else had the responsibility. So you just kind of learned that if I can trust me to be the best version of myself, I'm still growing, I'm still learning. Everything I've ever put my hands on has been incredible. And I'm really grateful for that, because it just didn't happen overnight. And had it, it's like winning the lottery, right? You hear the stories of someone that's really destitute and does not have a good relationship with money, and they win the lottery. What happens? They don't know what to do.
Like nothing.
Because there's no relationship with that. You have to grow the relationship with that, and it's just coming from homeless to where I am now didn't happen like the lottery. It was such a beautiful journey to get to where I am. And had I won the lottery, I would not appreciate the growth or be able to share the growth. And that's where my power is. That's what I'm passionate about. And that's what, till I take my last breath, I'll do, is help others find themselves and find the hope.
That's such a beautiful thing to do. And you're so right. When something is just handed to us, when we haven't worked to earn it, I do think not only do we not appreciate it, but there's also a chance we could lose it.
Yeah.
You might be okay for a little while, but you're not okay long term, because you haven't really figured things out yet.
Right. Exactly. It's almost like not, that deserving feeling. It's almost like in the very beginning when, beautiful, magical things would happen to me, I'd be like, oh my God, this accidentally wrong. It came to the wrong person. This isn't really meant for me. I wasn't deserving of it, and I didn't understand the energy between all of those things and how much my energy is everything to the world. Yeah. So that was a very difficult lesson, process to learn too, like protecting my peace. Once again, that's like selfish. Who are you? Protect your peace. What do you think you are? Like Mother Teresa? Give me a break. But then you really understand what protecting your peace means. Yeah. You can love all kinds of people, but you have to understand the ones that will drain your peace. Yes. And the things that you do that drain your peace, and being able to understand what you value the most and what your peace actually is when you can start to put up effective boundaries and begin to honor yourself first. Because man, don't we all go through that where, we would not treat our best friend like we do us on many times.
So true. Oh my gosh. You make me remember a time when I was not as kind to myself. And I would be verbally unkind to myself when I was really frustrated. And I did that with a friend of mine. I started berating myself in front of her. And she said, don't treat my friend Zoey that way. Oh. And it was such an epiphany for me that, I should treat myself as though I'm one of my friends.
That is so sweet.
Yeah, it was quite memorable.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think the world needs to hear that. That was really a powerful message that your friend gave you. That's really awesome.
Yeah, it really was. It was quite the wake up call for me. So, things like that, they stick. We learn those lessons. And sometimes just by a very kind friend saying the right thing at the right time.
Exactly. Exactly.
But, you talking just a moment ago, about not being selfish, to have that stability. It made me think of the relationship between land and the sea. That's where my mind went, was, you know, it's not selfish for the land to be the land when the sea is battering against it and it's unstable. The land needs to be stable. If it was as unstable as the sea, we'd all be in trouble.
Right. That's true. Good point. Very good point. Yeah. Yeah. I love those visuals. They really help, definitely put it into context.
Yeah.
So important. Yeah.
So I didn't want to interrupt your train of thought, but I'm a very
No,
visual, that's where my mind goes.
you're
Kind of
good. You're
person.
good. I mean, it definitely is really helpful. It's like, one of my favorite analogies that I'm, driving down the road one day and I'm like just feeling like this empty tank of gas. And I'm like looking at my car going, how can my car be full? And I just feel so drained. I feel like I'm going to run out of gas like any minute. And that was only a few years ago. And I just stopped myself and I went, wait a minute, who controls the gas? It's me,
I
right? So
love
if
the
I'm letting
analogy.
all of these sources put like holes in my tank and start to drain my gas, my energy, that's my responsibility. I can't be angry at anybody or frustrated at anybody but me. So learning how to erect those boundaries and learning how to protect yourself, it really is really that analogy of the gas, right? So when it's time for you to be you and really play full out, what's left? And learning to identify what those things might be is really, really, really important. It's a lot of work. I'm a huge pen and paper person, huge. And I am really, it's just such a powerful tool. And I know that there's people that are in different places of their journey that are going to, well, you know what? I'm just not going to write that stuff down. I'm just not going to do it. And it really, and that's okay, right? That's okay. But when it comes down to it, if you want to live an exceptional life, you must be an exceptional student.
Yes.
There's no other way about it. So whether you get your information from a really good podcast because you don't enjoy reading, or whether you read, or whether you really have a think tank of like-minded people, that helps to fill your tank. It helps to support you. It helps to build you up. We're literally like trees, right? So how stable is our tree? And how far do our branches go?
Right.
Or are we just kind of like that? I've been that little wobbly Charlie Brown Christmas tree. I'm like, oh man, one gust of wind and I'm done. But now I just feel like, man, I love this tree that I can take and help to like shield some people as they learn to grow their tree. It's just, I love that visual.
Yes. Yeah. And you put it that way makes so much sense. I never thought about it in terms of self-love. I always think of, like when I think like an emotional tank,
Yeah.
my mind goes back to a book I read when I was in my early 20s about the 5 love languages that Gary Chapman wrote. I mean, that's where but you reminded me of that, but it's like, oh, but here's a different angle. And maybe he wrote about it. I don't know. That's the only book of his I ever read, but I thought, well, that's an interesting slant. Are you filling your own emotional love tank? It's an interesting
100%.
question.
When the day is over, right? This is so powerful. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody. Ain't nobody coming to save you. There's not a special boat. There's not a special rescue mission. No one is coming to save you. We all have choices, and it's what we do with those choices that really makes a difference.
It is true. It's so true. Kind of like the whole Rapunzel let down your hair versus Tangled.
True. Yeah, that's true, right? Exactly. Right.
Are you waiting for the guy to rescue you from the tower? But hey, your hair is long enough that you can just slide on down yourself if you do it right.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Disney.
Exactly. And isn't that the power of connection too? Is that I love to hear other people's thoughts and viewpoints, because I would have never thought of Rapunzel.
I'm a
So
kid at heart.
I love
I
it.
refuse to grow up.
Well, the fact that you read the 5 love languages when you were in your 20s definitely tells me you are still young at heart. I mean, I remember reading Shad Helmstetter's book, What Do You Say When You Talk to Yourself, back in I don't know, the 80s or something like that. And now fast forward, and it's such a magical book, right? It's exactly what we just talked about. Like, how do we talk to ourselves, right? And the soundtracks in our head. And John Acuff is probably one of my favorite authors. I am a super avid reader. I will tear up a couple of books a week, and I reread. I put the month and the year, and then I reread it, and I go, my God, you know what? I'm reading this differently than I did then.
Yeah, you pick up new things.
Because we grow, we change, right? We're in different frames of mind. But the soundtracks and how we say those things to ourselves, I highly recommend John's book, it's called Soundtracks, and it's just so powerful. It really is. It really is a great book, especially for somebody that wants to learn how to reframe their mindset. It starts with that. It's so easy for us to, once again, grab that little sticky labeler, right? And our friends are going, oh, I remember when I started my real estate business. Oh my God, do you have any idea how much competition there is out there? And, these are well-meaning people, right? They don't want to see me punch myself in the face and lose. But I really quickly pushed that off.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's zero competition because there's only one Anne. So most people prefers to live under a roof and around, in the middle of walls than outside. So I think the housing market is always going to be amazing, right?
Yeah. People always need a place to live. It's
How
true.
do we show up? Yeah, exactly. So I really love the input from other folks, especially on their journey, to being a better version of themselves. How do they see things? What are some of the things that works for them? I had some ladies today comment on my post, some of the things that help them, release negative energy. And I just love that because their viewpoint is going to affect someone else.
Absolutely. Well, and like I was telling you just before we got started that I had taken a look at your Facebook, and you just started like this 30-day challenge.
Yeah.
And you had this beautiful post that caught my attention about that, we may not have chosen what happened to us, but we do get to choose how we rise from it.
100%.
And then I love that how you ended it with, you are allowed to rewrite your story. You don't have to ask for permission. You are allowed to rewrite it. You are allowed to be free. And sometimes we need to hear that. Sometimes we think, well, I made my bed, I have to lay here in it. No, you don't.
No.
You fell down, but you're allowed to get back up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's so much amazing power in that. I know so many people that have given up. My book was written, and do you live in, I used to live in default, right? So everything was an and default. Okay. So I meet a guy and then I moved to this town by default. Anne never raised her hand and said, hey, you know what I want to do when I grow up? I want to live here and I want to do that. That didn't ever happen because I never had the opportunity to do that. I was default, label, default. And then, once I really recognized my power in actually writing my own story, not only did I literally do it, but I was like, I really took responsibility for my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I stood up and I looked in the mirror one day and I'm like, you are where you are because you choose to be. Yes, exactly. That is exactly where you are. Yeah. So, and that was inclusive of being homeless. That was inclusive of abusing substance. That was really inclusive of all the things that happened to me. Now, as a young child, I didn't choose that. I couldn't choose incest, but I damn sure chose how I was going to react to it.
Yeah.
And I did. write the rest of my story. So I don't want to live in default anymore.
Absolutely. I was thinking another way to put that is that you shifted from living reactively to living intentionally.
100%. Yeah. And that's still a work in progress, I think, on the daily, right? So am I going to react to that?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to just stay in my lane?
Yeah.
And I'm going to let them, right? Another freaking amazing book, Mel Robbins, The Let Them Theory. I mean, I've read it twice and it just recently came out. It's that important.
Good to know.
Reactive.
So you have a lot of tools in your arsenal there.
I don't ever stop.
Nice.
I can't ever stop. I don't want to ever stop. I love this journey because when I read something, I can share it with other people. And it just really just helps you to just build such strong character for others to lean on when they don't know what direction to go in. It's really awesome stuff.
That is. So I think you and I have in common that we are both on these healing journeys, and maybe we're still figuring things out as we go along, but come along for the ride. Maybe you can heal with us.
Exactly. And input, love input, because people have some amazing input. They don't realize it, but they do.
Absolutely. Well, and that idea of, using our experiences and our intuition to help us figure out the road ahead, even though we're maybe a little bit still in the dark, but, we're just doing it bit by bit, trying to figure out the right direction. And if we stumble on something, great.
Yeah, exactly. That's our own power, trusting us.
Yeah. And learning from others, because, maybe they stumbled on something that we never even knew was out there.
Yeah. And that, it still goes back to trusting us, right? Be open.
Yeah.
Be open. Look at all the beautiful things that can happen when you're open to others.
Absolutely. And it's funny because very often people will say things without realizing that they've impacted you for the good or the bad. And they may have commented something just because it was in their head, but oh my goodness, there's so much value in that. Just a couple months ago, I heard a term that I had never heard in my life called affect labeling. And she didn't use that term specifically, but she referred to the science, the description of it, which then caused me to research, well, what is this? Affect labeling. And wouldn't you know, that was one of the most pivotal moments. And she had no idea that I was going to react to her comment. It was just a side comment, nothing really in her mind that was going to be impacting anyone, but it meant something to her. But that's how we, it's so important to be around people.
Yeah.
And to hear just sometimes just the simplest thing that to them was just, oh yeah, it's just this. But for us, it's profound.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, that's kind of the direction that we've gotten away from is connection. And that vicious thing that happens with comparison to others. And I think that, probably one of the most powerful yet destructive things that have happened to our society is social media. There's a lot of power in it for good, but man, does it tear the shit out of people. It is horrifying what happens, and really horrifying what happens to kids are growing up with learned behavior. Their patterns are set for them with the comparison, and it's really connecting with people and just sitting around. I think cavemen did this, right? They sat around the campfire. Love that.
Which is one of my favorite things. I love going camping. It's so relaxing to be around that campfire, just talking and just relaxing and letting those muscles just go like jelly.
Yeah, exactly. And sharing with another, right? There's just so many amazing things can happen when you ask someone, hey, what's the most awesome thing going on in your world right now? Yeah. Or
talking about nothing, just chilling, just enjoying that fire.
Exactly. People are at a loss now for feeling like they matter.
Yes.
So when we do this weird thing, right? We go, oh, hey, Zoe, how are you? Good. That's great. Awesome. We don't even care about the answer. It's a
So
freaking
true.
question. It's not even a question. It's like a weird like statement, right?
Hi, fine.
Exactly. Instead of being like, hey, you know what? So what's happening?
Yeah.
And waiting.
Or because we think no one cares, we just always default to, I'm fine, I'm good. When in fact, we may be very far from fine or good. We just give the expected answer because that's what we think they want to hear.
Yeah. And sometimes we consider the audience, and
Mm-hmm.
other times we need to look inside, because we can often teach others how to be vulnerable just by doing it ourselves. They may just be dying for the same kind of attention. They just don't know how to ask.
True. Just like
So,
learning to hug. I was
yeah.
never one to hug, but there was this friend who was a very big hugger, and she taught me after a few shocked moments,
Yeah.
many shocked moments, in fact. She taught me to learn how to accept being hugged and then also to offer it. That
Yeah.
some things have to be learned.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know who we can learn the best from when it comes to that are little kids. They're
True.
professional huggers because they won't stop hugging until they've gotten what they needed. It's usually us that breaks away.
Yeah.
So the next time you greet someone really important in your life, be completely open to it and hug until they've had enough.
So true.
It's not
My baby
easy.
brother was the best for that. He would let me hug him until I was done
Yeah.
hugging him. Very few people do that.
No, we don't know how. That's
No.
the connection. There's the little things like that in the connection that we're just kind of a cursory hug, like, all right, so our bodies touch, hug.
Right.
Okay,
Or
awkward
we're like,
here.
okay, you're hugging too long. I'm feeling awkward.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't
And
know what
like,
to do.
I think like our eye muscles too are like greatly affected because we don't keep it eye surface. We're down, we're up, we're down, we're up, our phone, we're up, our computer, we're up, we don't know how to just stay at eye level. People, if you watch and you intentionally pay attention to this and be the one with the smile and the eye contact, a lot of people are very uncomfortable with that. They
True.
they really don't know what to do. It's almost like they're afraid to be seen. They're afraid of what you mean by it. There's so much social anxiety out there
Yeah.
that if we just really, like I love like the cashier, for example. You know what? Thank you so much for doing a great job today. I hope you have a wonderful day. And eye contact.
Yeah.
They're just like so appreciative of that. That will impact people.
Yeah. You're right. It's an area that I've always struggled with, in fact. I was a very shy person growing up. And so when I would have to talk to people, I not only would barely make eye contact, I talked much, much faster than I do now and
Yeah.
much lower than I do now.
Yeah.
So very often I would have a conversation with someone at hyperspeed, and I would see confusion pass over their face, but they would never say anything. They would just nod and smile.
Oh,
And I would walk away going, why aren't they doing what I asked them to do?
oh wow.
Until
Yeah.
they demonstrated to me just why that was happening. Um,
That's profound. That's a really good awareness. It really is because, communication is a learned behavior.
yes.
So I've had people say to me, I was very much an introvert. I absolutely, when I tell you that I hated people, I hated myself so much that it deflected out. And I really had such a hard time with people. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I would make mean faces. I was really in such a very, very sad space that I couldn't trust anybody. I couldn't trust me. I really wanted to die, right? So I was in that really horrific space. And it was learned behavior. It was learned behavior, learning to trust me and having a genuine care for what goes on in your world. I'm so curious, like, how do you do this? And what is really important to you? And I want to understand your viewpoint. And that started my growth. So I've had friends say to me, well, I'm not like you. I can't just get on a plane and talk to people. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If you knew me then and you saw me now, you wouldn't believe we are the same people because you
Right.
missed the whole journey in between.
takes
And I
practice.
love people. And
Mm-hmm.
I trust me and I trust people. I don't go, you know what, I'm not sure about them. I'm all in.
Exactly.
And
A
take
friend of
me out.
mine.
Take me out if you need to.
Exactly.
You know what? I've got, some of my family members are like, you're going to end up dead. You know what? Take me out. If all I'm doing is sharing space with someone and I'm connecting and
Yeah.
it's my time to go, I'm so cool with that.
Yeah.
I am.
Absolutely. I mean, what's the alternative? You sit on a shelf by yourself. That's no life. We have to interact with people. We have to learn how to be conversation. Even now, like you and I, it's not the Zoe show, it's not the Anne show. This is a true conversation we're having. We're, interchanging.
Yeah.
And that is becoming, I think, a lost art, mainly because I'm sure the social media portion. But all it takes to have a conversation is just to start talking with someone and then maybe asking a question so that then they have a turn to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's being curious in another.
Yeah.
Right? That's the most. Can you believe that there's actually little kids that watch videos of little kids playing?
Oh, I've not heard that. Oh my goodness. Oh,
I'm really I'm fascinated by that. I'm not quite sure how to process that.
I mean, how can that possibly be fun to watch someone else play?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know. And I and I hope and I pray that we reach somebody that's like, you know what? I do want to have a conversation with somebody. Maybe I will just respond when someone says hi.
yeah.
Because there's so much sadness and so much disconnect and people just want to be seen. They want to know that they matter. They don't, there's actually, this is true, right? There are invisible people.
It's true. There have been times when I felt like one of them or wanted to be one of them.
Heartbreaking. I can't deal with that. I cannot. I picked up a lot of people in various different places because I could recognize the loneliness and the sadness and the disconnect. And I just can't. I just can't. I have to do something, even if just a stop and a smile. I see you.
Yeah.
That goes so far.
It really does. Just
Yeah.
giving that opportunity just to feel like someone cares, that they're hearing you, that they want to know who you are and what you're about. That's huge.
Oh man. And you know why it's so powerful for me is I was that person. I was that kid.
Yeah.
I definitely felt those feelings. So I can feel it so strongly from another. It's just really something that shouldn't happen. And, and there's so many people in our world that want to help. And, people are like, yeah, I would donate, but I don't have the money. There's so much more than money. There's so much more than money. There really is. We have like super wealthy people, open up the freaking wallet, throw it down. And then we have people that are really good at other things, knowing that someone's having a tough time and making a meal, or just smiling at your neighbor.
Yeah. Having a conversation, just showing some personal interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's okay, right? It's okay. Like there's people want to help. They do. They just don't know how sometimes.
True. I mean, it comes back to learned behavior, being educated that this is what it means to be a community. My parents, my mom never met a stranger. Every time we moved someplace, we knew our neighbors, and that is 100% because of my mom. She would know people several blocks away. She was not shy, and it was one of the most beautiful things about her personality. But I wonder, maybe that was also just her generation.
True.
And now, I mean, I'm not unfriendly by any means, but I'm still shy. So I know my neighbors, but I don't really know my neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I mean, we live in a very fearful world too. I mean, it's really, I have to constantly check myself, right? So it's a world where right now people are having a very hard time trusting anything.
And there's so much out there that, there are dangers. I feel like they're even more dangerous on social media than in real world. But dangers, I mean, they're out there. You do have to use your head. You
Yeah.
have to use good judgment or learn good judgment, as the case may be. But yeah, but there's danger no matter where you look, whether you're by yourself or with other people. There's always going to be some degree
Yeah.
of danger. You just have to really learn how to deal with that danger.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? We have like the best radar system built into us called our intuition.
Yes.
If it doesn't feel right, you're right.
Yeah.
Right. If it feels weird, you're right.
Exactly. And intuition can be trained. So if it doesn't come naturally, you can learn it. Find some strong friends who with good judgment and learn from them. But it's there. Yeah.
Yeah, but like we were saying before, you have to trust yourself.
Mm.
And when you trust yourself and understand that you are part navigator of this boat, it kind of makes the journey a little bit easier and a little bit smoother and a little bit more magical. But it's understandable how people have great difficulty in the world we're in right now. It's not easy.
True.
You know?
But like you said, you're always learning. You're reading, you're figuring things out. So you are feeding that intuition. So both, I mean, you have to trust yourself, but you wouldn't just drive a boat without learning how to drive, right?
Exactly.
You manual. So there's that balance there, but both things are true.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's really, I mean, you know what? Life is amazing. And I'm so blessed to have the one that I do. And it's a really cool feeling when you can get to the point where you look in the mirror. And I just had this as an exercise, right? I challenged people to go in the bathroom, shut the door, quiet, no phone, nobody, and look in the mirror in your own eyes for 5 minutes.
Wow.
Don't break it. You can't break the look, and you got a pen and paper. And I'm going to tell you, this is some hard stuff. When I first did it, I mean, it was a lot of tears. There was a lot of emotion, and then write down what I saw and what I felt. And it's really, the challenge that I just did recently, I got the most beautiful text and the most beautiful, instant messages back. And, one woman wrote to me, she's like, you know what? I just saw a woman I'm so proud of. And I'm like reading this and I'm like tears. I'm like, I just love that. That's so beautiful, and I think that when we're able to do those things for us, there's just so much in it, because what do we say? Forget about everybody else. Like, that is just static.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you get to the point where you're like, you know what? I am the best version of me that I can be, considering the tools that I have today. Anybody else's opinion is, like my grandma's term, malarkey.
I love that.
I still don't know what it means, but that was what she would say.
I often grew up hearing that expression as myself, and I don't know if it has any true definition, but it's understood.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, there is another author out there. She has she's been doing interviews, and it's for a book that I think she's going to call A Superwoman's Handbook. Have you heard of that?
No, I love it.
I'm thinking, oh my goodness, she needs to meet you too. I've got like 2 people I want to introduce you to. Like, oh my goodness, they need to hear this, because I think you tie in with both of what they're trying to achieve. But yeah, she's pretty cool. I wish I could think of her name off the top of my head, but if you look on Facebook for A Superwoman's Handbook, you're going to find her. And just all kinds of amazing stories.
Thank you. Yeah, I love the collaboration. I love that.
Yep, absolutely. So as we kind of approach the end of our time together, do you have any specific advice or thoughts that you want to share with the audience?
I'm always hesitant with advice because everybody is on such a different journey. But I would say, just start carving out some time for you, protect some of your time for yourself and figure out where it is that you want to go. The how comes pretty easily. Once you figure out the why and the where, then the how will come naturally. There's a lot of resources. So yeah, I love so much that there are people on this journey and that they're trying so hard to be the best version of themselves. And I just couldn't pass out enough like loving energy to all.
I like that. That's very good. I appreciate that. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I hope I didn't talk too much or steal the show, but
no, you're amazing. I've learned so much for you. And like you legit with your friends said that, please don't talk about my friend Zoe. Like you hit me in the feels pretty good, man. I was like, all right, we're not going to be losing our stuff here. That is awesome, my friend. Thank you for sharing that for everybody.
Yeah, I owe her a lot. She was a beautiful friend to have, and she still is. I'm not as close with her now as I was then, but I know that if I knocked on her door, she'd be like, "Hey, Zoe, come on in. We love you." You know,
I love that.
She's just that kind of friend. So
yeah, I love it. I appreciate you very much. I've learned so much, and I love your journey as well. And what you're doing is amazing. You're going to help so many people.
I hope so. You know, like I said, you know, I'm figuring it out as I go along. And if you want to come along for the ride, you're welcome. You know, check out ZoeyMichaels.com.
That's great. That's great. So caring. Thank you so much for your time, Zoe. I appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. We're going to hit the end of the recording, but thank you everyone for joining us. And check out Trauma Recycled. And I'm sure Anne will have all kinds of really great tools in her book to help you too. Here we go.